What if it was all for nothing? All year we come to this place, to this room, to hear stories about a man who was God, a man who ate and drank, healed and taught. And we nod our heads in agreement that those things about the poor sound nice, and probably we should stop to help those who are bloody and beaten on the road of life. And that story that he told about where the dad forgives his son, that's also so nice. We like him. I mean, we heard him tell us here and there that what he was saying was not, in fact, earning him friends but enemies, and we shrugged it off. We knew that this year, like all the other years, we would wash each other's feet on Thursday and feel sad on Friday and feel happy on Sunday. It's predictable. It's a good story. But did it matter? Is the world measurably better off because Jesus came? Is the world less violent now than it was on the night of his crucifixion? Is the world more just? Is the whole planet aware of these people called Christians and the power of their love in such a way that the earth itself is preserved and renewed, and war has entirely ceased, and every belly is fed? No. Nothing is better than it was the day Jesus died. This is the bleakest reality I know. It did nothing. All those children in Sandy Hook are still dead. I have this secret imagining sometimes that God actually tried to send a Messiah before Jesus several times. And because God is God, and this is how God does things, God kept sending a baby or a child to poor people, to the least of these, everywhere. And over again, that child kept not making it. The child would starve or was killed by a tyrant, or every once in a while God would get excited because one would make it to being a teenager, but he would be felled by an accident while doing some kind of manual labor. And then finally, Jesus was exceptional, the only one who made it to adulthood, barely. And I have this other imagining that since Jesus, God has tried to send us the second coming over and over. But again, none of those children live. They mine cobalt for our computers, and their lungs fill with dust, and they die. A baby is born to a black mother in the U.S., and they both die. A baby's born in Yemen, and a bomb paid for by the U.S. obliterates her. God keeps trying, and none of them survive to adulthood. We didn't learn. We might only get the second coming when we build a world where those children live. But we don't want to build that world. It would interfere with the stock market. world is not better than it was before God came. And if we're really getting into it, we have to admit that it's Christianity ourselves who've committed a large portion, if not the bulk, of the murder and rape and destruction of the past 2,000 years. There's still child slaves. There are toddlers locked in cages on our border being guarded by good Christians. People starve to death. Priests rape nuns and popes cover it up. Alaskan Native men bear keloid scars on their backs from the whips of Jesuits. Hundreds of mass shootings happen every year on this very day, on Good Friday. Christians have misinterpreted the text we hear to mean that all Jewish people are responsible for Jesus' death, when instead it was absolutely the Romans, and the authors were simply picking mad at their fellow occupied people, the few who had chosen to collaborate with empire. And on this very day throughout history, Christians, the ones who were supposed to learn, if nothing else, not to crucify people, gleefully murdered Jewish people. This day itself, over the years, accumulated death and foreboding, and we became the murderers and not the murdered. To be honest, I'm not sure that the evidence shows that Christianity in sum total has done more good than harm. It might have been a terrible idea all along. There might be more suffering in the world because of us than the suffering we have relieved. We turned into the thing we hate and pretended we didn't. We learned nothing. It's all the same. Why did God come? What good did it do? I don't know what else to tell you. Maybe today is just another senseless waste of flesh, like all the rest of them. Like every stupid death everywhere. Like all the centuries of murders that happened on this day. Ordinary men killing their wives, women burned as witches. All the senseless murder that happens now in a hospital bed, dying for lack of insulin, or a 15-year-old on the streets dying for lack of Narcan. The night Jesus died, his disciples walked away. All that work they did, all that listening, all that preaching, all the healing was useless. I mean, a few people, got their sight back. So one time, a whole mountain full of people got bread and fish. So what? The massive wheels of empire and capital ground on. People were still selling each other in the marketplace. Nothing changed. There's no plan. There's never been a plan. There's just been empires and people and pettiness and jealousy and death over and over and over again. The weapons we have now have gotten fancier. But it just means it's faster to do what we used to do slower, because we hate each other just as much. Cain and Abel, burning churches, never ends. God came, nothing changed. In fact, he just got killed too, a little provincial rebel on the edge of empire. Certainly no one whose name we would ever know now. Tonight we admit that we are defeated. It won. We lost. God is dead. Nothing is new. And we deserve the awful world we have made.